When a maid in a blue dress arrived at a millionaire's mansion, she found something terrifying. A man so lonely he'd forgotten how to live. What she did next changed both their lives forever. He thought money could buy everything. She knew better. But when love grew between a man in a wheelchair and the woman who saw his heart, society tried to tear them apart. You won't believe the sacrifice she made, or how far you want to find her again. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time it is and where you're watching from. Let's start. The house was so big that Marcus could scream and no one would hear him. He sat in his wheelchair by the enormous window, watching the sun sink like a dying fire behind the hills. His long-sleeved black t-shirt hung loose on his thin shoulders. Once, that shirt fit him perfectly. Once, he had walked through these halls like a king. Now the wheelchair was his throne, and his kingdom was empty. Marcus was rich. So rich he could buy 100 houses. So rich he could buy 1,000 cars. But he couldn't buy new legs. He couldn't buy a friend who truly cared. And he definitely couldn't buy away the terrible loneliness that lived inside his chest like a cold, dark stone. The mansion had 42 rooms. Marcus had counted them all, rolling through each one in his chair, looking for something he couldn't name. Gold frames held paintings of people he'd never met. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like frozen tears. Marble floors reflected his face back at him. Always alone, always watching. His servants came and went like ghosts. They brought food. They cleaned. They never looked him in the eye. Why would they? He'd been mean for so long, barking orders, never saying thank you, never seeing them as real people. They feared him. And fear, Marcus had learned, was the coldest companion of all. That Tuesday evening, everything changed. The doorbell rang, a sound so rare in that silent house that Marcus jumped. His butler, old Mr. Peters, shuffled to answer it. Marcus rolled his wheelchair closer to the hallway, curious despite himself. "I'm here about the maid position," a soft voice said. Marcus peeked around the corner. There stood a young woman in a simple blue dress. She wasn't fancy. She wasn't wearing makeup or jewelry. Her dark hair was pulled back neatly, and she held a small brown bag that looked like it contained everything she owned. But her eyes, oh, her eyes were different. They were kind, not scared kind, not fake kind. Really, truly kind, like deep water on a hot day. "Your name?" Mr. Peters asked. "Elena, sir." "Wait here." Mr. Peters walked to Marcus, bending down to whisper. "Sir, she has no experience in fine houses. Perhaps we should—" "Hire her," Marcus said suddenly. The word surprised even him. "But, sir—" "I said hire her." Mr. Peters blinked, then nodded and returned to Elena. "You start tomorrow, 5 in the morning." Elena smiled, not a big smile, just a small, grateful one, and something in Marcus's chest moved. Like a door he'd kept locked for years had creaked open just a tiny bit. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about those kind eyes. Elena arrived before dawn, when the sky was still purple and the stars were fading. She wore the same blue dress and carried the same small bag. Marcus watched from his bedroom window as she walked up the long driveway, her steps steady and sure. She worked differently than the other servants. She didn't rush. She didn't bang things around. When she dusted the library shelves, she touched each book gently, like they were alive. When she arranged flowers in the vase by the piano, she hummed. So quietly Marcus almost missed it. And strangest of all, she wasn't afraid of him. The first time she brought him breakfast, Marcus was ready. He'd practiced his meanest face, prepared to bark at her about the eggs or the toast or something. Anything to keep his walls up. Elena set the tray down carefully. The plate didn't rattle. The juice didn't spill. "Good morning, Mr. Marcus," she said softly. He grunted, not looking at her. She didn't leave. She stood there, patient as a tree. Finally, Marcus glanced up, ready to snap at her. But Elena was looking out the window, at a bird singing on the branch outside. "The robin came back," she said, more to herself than to him. "I saw her building a nest yesterday. She's gonna have babies soon." Then she left, quiet as a breeze. Marcus sat there, fork frozen halfway to his mouth. When was the last time someone had talked to him about something beautiful? About birds and nests and new life? When was the last time someone had spoken to him like he was a person, not a boss? Days passed, then weeks. Elena cleaned, cooked, and cared for the house. But she also did something no one else had done in years. She saw Marcus. When he dropped his book, she picked it up and asked what he was reading. When he looked tired, she brought him tea without being asked. When he sat by the window staring at nothing, she quietly opened it so he could feel the breeze. She never pushed, never pried, never demanded his attention or his story. She just stayed. Marcus found himself rolling his wheelchair to whatever room Elena was working in. He pretended to need something, a book from that shelf, a blanket from that closet. But really, he just wanted to be near her calm presence. One afternoon, he found her in the garden, kneeling in the dirt in her blue dress, planting flowers. "You'll ruin your dress," he said. Elena looked up, shading her eyes from the sun. "Dirt washes out, Mr. Marcus. But gardens need love, or they die." Something about the way she said it made Marcus's throat tight. "Why are you so kind?" The question burst out before he could stop it. "Everyone else here just wants their paycheck. But you actually care." "Why?" Elena sat back on her heels, considering. A butterfly landed on her shoulder, and she stayed perfectly still so it wouldn't fly away. "Because everybody's carrying something heavy," she said finally. "We can't see it, but it's there. And I think the kindest thing we can do is help each other carry it, even if we don't say the words out loud." The butterfly flew away. Elena stood and brushed the dirt from her knees. "Lunch will be ready soon," she said, and walked back inside. Marcus sat in his wheelchair in the garden for a long time after that, tears rolling down his face that he didn't bother to wipe away. The night it all changed was a Thursday. Rain hammered the mansion like 1,000 angry fists. Thunder shook the windows. Lightning turned the world white, then black, then white again. Marcus couldn't sleep. The storm reminded him of the accident, the one that took his legs, his confidence, his hope. He rolled himself to the library, hoping a book might quiet his racing mind. That's where Elena found him. She wore a simple white nightgown and carried a candle because the power had gone out. In the flickering light, she looked like an angel. "Mr. Marcus? Are you all right?" He wasn't all right. He was drowning in memories and pain and fear. But the words that came out were angry ones, because anger was easier than truth. "Get out. I don't need you watching me like I'm some broken thing to pity." Elena didn't flinch. She set the candle down on the desk and sat in the chair across from him. Outside, thunder roared. "You're not broken," she said quietly. "Look at me." Marcus shouted, gesturing at his useless legs. "I can't walk. I can't run. I can't even stand up without this chair. I'm trapped. His voice cracked, broke. The words turned into sobs. And Elena did something no one had done since the accident. She reached across the space between them and held his hand, not to fix him, not to make it better, just to say, "You're not alone." They sat like that while the storm raged, her hand warm in his, the candle flickering between them, the rain washing the world clean outside. "I'm scared," Marcus finally whispered. "I'm so scared that this is all I'll ever be. Alone in this big house, waiting to die, with nothing and no one who really knows me." "I know you," Elena said. Marcus looked up, confused. "I know you love books about the ocean, even though you haven't seen it in years. I know you pretend the tea is too hot, but really you just like holding the warm cup. I know you watch the birds every morning like they're old friends. I know you, Mr. Marcus, and I'm not leaving." Something in Marcus's heart, that cold, dark stone, began to crack. "Why?" he breathed. "Why would you stay?" Elena smiled, soft and true. "Because everybody deserves someone who stays. And I think maybe we were meant to find each other. You, in your big, lonely castle. Me, with nowhere else to go. Maybe we're supposed to save each other." The thunder quieted. The rain softened to a whisper against the windows. Marcus squeezed her hand, and for the first time in years, he felt something powerful and terrifying and wonderful bloom in his chest. "Hope, thank you, Elena," he said. "For what?" "For seeing me." She nodded, understanding everything he couldn't say. Then she stood, picked up her candle, and paused at the door. "The storm's passing, Mr. Marcus. Morning's coming soon, and I'll be here when it does." Then she was gone, leaving only the scent of rain and the impossible feeling that maybe, just maybe, Marcus wasn't as alone as he thought. He rolled himself to the window and watched the clouds break apart, revealing stars. Somewhere in the mansion, Elena hummed a quiet song, and Marcus smiled for the first time in 3 years. After the storm night, something changed between Marcus and Elena. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. But it was there, like a seed planted in dark soil, quietly growing where no one could see. Marcus started waking up earlier, not because he had to, but because he wanted to see Elena when she arrived. He'd position his wheelchair near the kitchen door and pretend to be reading the newspaper when she walked in at dawn. "Good morning, Mr. Marcus," she'd say, hanging up her coat. "Morning," he'd reply, hiding his smile behind the paper. Elena would start breakfast, and Marcus would watch her move through the kitchen like a dancer who knew every step by heart. She cracked eggs with one hand. She hummed those quiet songs. She set the table with care, making sure his fork and knife were exactly where his hands could reach them. It was the little things that made Marcus's heart beat faster. The way she remembered he didn't like onions in his eggs. The way she opened the curtains just enough to let in light, but not enough to make him squint. The way she left books she thought he'd like on the table beside his wheelchair. Always interesting ones, never boring. "How do you know what I want to read?" he asked one morning. Elena paused while pouring his coffee. "I pay attention," she said simply. "You look at the ocean paintings longest. You touch the books about adventure like you're remembering something. So I thought, maybe you want to travel, even if it's just in your mind." Marcus stared at her. No one had ever paid attention like that. No one had ever cared enough to notice. "You're right," he said quietly. "I used to dream about sailing around the world. Before the accident, I had plans. I was going to sell everything and just go, be free." "What stopped you?" Elena asked, sitting down across from him with her own cup of tea. "Fear," Marcus admitted. "After I lost my legs, I thought freedom was impossible. I thought I was stuck forever." Elena tilted her head, studying him. "Maybe freedom isn't about where your body goes, Mr. Marcus. Maybe it's about where your heart goes." Those words echoed in Marcus's mind for days. Spring turned to summer. The mansion that had felt like a prison started feeling like something else, something warmer. Marcus began asking Elena to stay after she finished her work. At first, she was hesitant. It wasn't proper for a maid to sit with the master of the house. But Marcus insisted. "I'm not asking as your boss," he said. "I'm asking as your friend." Friend. The word made Elena's cheeks turn pink. But she smiled and sat down. They talked about everything. Elena told him about growing up in a tiny village where everyone knew everyone. She told him about her mother who died when Elena was 12, and how she'd had to work ever since to survive. "I cleaned houses, washed dishes, took care of children," Elena said, staring into her teacup. "I never had much, but I learned that rich or poor, everyone needs the same things. Love, kindness, someone to see them. Is that why you're so good at this?" Marcus asked, "At making people feel human?" Elena looked up, and her eyes were bright with something Marcus couldn't name. "Maybe, or maybe I just know what it's like to be invisible, and I decided I never want anyone else to feel that way." Marcus reached across the small table between them. His hand hovered in the air, shaking slightly. Elena looked at his hand, then at his face. Then she placed her hand in his. It fit perfectly. "You're not invisible to me, Elena," Marcus whispered. "You're the most real thing in my life." For a moment, neither of them breathed. The world seemed to stop spinning. There was only the warmth of her hand in his, and the truth hanging in the air between them. Then Elena gently pulled away. "It's getting late," she said, standing up quickly. I should go to bed. Tomorrow's a big cleaning day. She hurried out before Marcus could say anything else. He sat alone in the room, his hand still warm from her touch, wondering if he'd just ruined everything. But Elena didn't leave. She came back the next morning, and the morning after that. They fell into a rhythm, a careful dance. They talked and laughed and shared stories. But they didn't touch again. They didn't speak about the feelings growing between them like vines climbing a wall, because they both knew the truth. The world wouldn't understand. He was Marcus, the millionaire. She was Elena, the maid. There were rules about people like them. Rules about who could love who. Rules that said their two worlds should never meet. But rules don't stop hearts from feeling. One evening, Marcus was in the garden watching the sunset when Elena came out with a shawl. "You'll catch cold," she said, draping it over his shoulders. "Sit with me," Marcus said. "Please." Elena hesitated, then sat on the stone bench beside his wheelchair. The sky was painted orange and pink and purple, like a masterpiece. "Do you ever wonder what your life would be like if things were different?" Marcus asked. "Different how?" "If I wasn't this." He gestured at his wheelchair, his useless legs. "If I was whole, if I was just a regular man, would you—" He stopped, unable to finish. Elena turned to look at him. In the sunset light, she was so beautiful it hurt. "Mr. Marcus, you are whole," she said firmly. "Your legs don't make you who you are. Your heart does. And your heart—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Your heart is the strongest thing I've ever known. Then why do you pull away?" Marcus asked, his voice breaking. "Why do you run every time we get close?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Because I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of hurting you. Of people talking. Of ruining your life." She wiped her eyes quickly. "You don't understand, Mr. Marcus. People like me, we don't get happy endings. We don't get to love people like you. It's not how the world works." "Then let's change how the world works," Marcus said desperately. He grabbed her hand, holding tight. "Elena, I don't care about rules. I don't care what people say. I care about you. You've given me back my life. You've made me want to wake up in the morning. You've taught me that I'm not broken, just different. And I—" He stopped, terrified to say the next words. Elena squeezed his hand. "Say it." "I love you," Marcus breathed. "I love you, Elena. And I know it's crazy and impossible and wrong by every rule in the world, but I don't care. I love you." The tears were flowing freely down Elena's face now. "I love you, too," she whispered. "I've loved you since that storm night when you finally let me see your heart. But Marcus, love isn't always enough. Sometimes love means—" "Don't," Marcus interrupted. "Don't say it means letting go. I've let go of too many things in my life. Please, please don't make me let go of you." Elena stood up, pulling her hand free. She was shaking all over. "I need to think," she said. "I need time." She ran back into the house, leaving Marcus alone in the gathering dark. 3 days passed. 3 terrible, silent days. Elena still came to work. She still brought breakfast and cleaned and did all the things she'd always done. But she wouldn't look at Marcus. She wouldn't sit with him. She wouldn't talk beyond yes, sir, and no, sir. It was like watching the light go out. Marcus felt himself sinking back into the darkness he'd escaped. The mansion felt cold again, empty again, wrong again. On the 4th day, he couldn't take it anymore. "Elena, please," he said when she brought his lunch. "Please talk to me. Yell at me if you want. Tell me you hate me. Just don't disappear." Elena set down the tray. Her hands were shaking. "I've been thinking," she said quietly, still not looking at him. "And I've made a decision." Marcus's heart stopped. "What decision?" "I'm leaving." The words hit him like a punch to the chest. "What?" "No, no, Elena, please." "I have to," she said, and now she did look at him, and her eyes were red from crying. "Do you know what will happen if people find out about us? They'll destroy you. They'll say terrible things. They'll say I'm using you for money. that I'm taking advantage of a disabled man. Your reputation will be ruined. Your business partners will leave. Your friends will whisper, and it will all be because of me. I don't care about any of that. Marcus shouted. But I do. Elena shouted back. I care about you too much to watch the world tear you apart. Don't you see? Loving you means protecting you, even if it means protecting you from me. She pulled an envelope from her apron pocket and placed it on the table. Her hands lingered on it for just a moment. This is my resignation. I'll be gone by morning. Mr. Peters can find someone else. Elena, no. Please, don't do this. I need you. Elena bent down and kissed his forehead, soft and gentle and heartbreaking. You don't need me, Marcus, she whispered, using his name without the mister for the first time. You're stronger than you know. You're going to be okay. And someday, you'll find someone the world approves of, someone who fits in your life better than I ever could. I don't want someone else. Marcus was crying now, not caring how it looked. I want you. But Elena was already walking toward the door. She paused at the threshold, her back to him, her shoulders shaking. I'll always love you, she said, even when I'm gone, even when you forget me. I'll carry you in my heart until the day I die. Then she was gone. Marcus sat frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe, unable to believe she was really leaving. He grabbed the envelope with shaking hands and tore open. Inside was a letter, written in Elena's careful handwriting. Dear Marcus, by the time you read this, I'll be far away. Please don't look for me. Please don't try to bring me back. You gave me something I never had before. Hope. You showed me that kindness can heal anything, even the deepest loneliness. You taught me that love is real, even when it's impossible. But sometimes, loving someone means setting them free. I'm leaving so you can have the life you deserve. A life without whispers and judgment. A life where you can be respected and honored like you should be. Take care of yourself. Watch the birds every morning. Read those adventure books. Remember that you're not broken. You're perfect exactly as you are. Forever yours. Elena. Marcus held the letter to his chest and sobbed. Outside, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. And somewhere in the night, Elena walked away from the only home her heart had ever known, crying so hard she could barely see the road ahead. Marcus stopped eating. He stopped reading. He stopped watching the birds. He stopped doing everything that Elena had taught him to love again. For 2 weeks, he sat by the window in his wheelchair, wearing the same long-sleeved black T-shirt, staring at nothing. Mr. Peters brought food that went cold and untouched. The other servants whispered worries in the hallways. The mansion felt dead. But on the 15th day, something changed. Marcus was holding Elena's letter. He'd read it so many times the paper was soft and wrinkled. When he noticed something he'd missed before, at the very bottom, barely visible, were 3 tiny words written in pencil, almost erased. St. Mary's Chapel. His heart jumped. She'd left him a clue, a breadcrumb, a hope. Marcus's hands shook as he grabbed the letter tighter. Why would she write that? Was it where she'd gone? Was it a message? Was she asking him to find her, even though she'd said not to? He didn't care. He had to try. Mr. Peters. Marcus shouted, his voice rough from not speaking for days. Mr. Peters, come here. The old butler rushed in, shocked to hear life in his master's voice again. Sir, I need you to find every St. Mary's chapel within 200 miles of here. Every single one. Churches, cathedrals, anything with that name. Write them all down. Now. Mr. Peters blinked. Sir, there could be dozens. I don't care if there are hundreds. Marcus's eyes blazed with something they hadn't held in weeks. Purpose. Find them all. I'm going to search everyone until I find her. For the first time since Elena left, Marcus smiled. It was small and scared and desperate, but it was real. I'm coming for you, Elena, he whispered to the empty room. I'm coming. The next morning, Marcus left his mansion for the first time in 3 years. Mr. Peters had found 17 churches named St. Mary's. Marcus loaded his wheelchair into a special van and set out, his heart pounding with hope and terror. The first church was in the city, surrounded by tall buildings and honking cars. Marcus rolled up the doors and asked the priest if he knew a young woman named Elena who wore a blue dress. The priest shook his head. "I'm sorry, son. No one by that name here." The second church was in a suburb. Same answer. The third, fourth, fifth, all the same. No Elena. No girl in a blue dress. No angel. Days turned into a week. Marcus refused to give up. He traveled from town to town, village to village, asking everyone he met, "Have you seen her? Do you know her? Has anyone new come to your church?" Nothing. His body ached from traveling. His hope began to flicker like a dying candle. Maybe she didn't want to be found. Maybe the note was an accident. Maybe he was chasing a ghost. But then, in a tiny village 3 hours from his mansion, an old woman selling flowers on the street corner heard his question and smiled. "A young lady in a blue dress?" "Oh, yes, dear. She comes to our chapel every morning. Sits in the back pew and prays. Lovely girl. So sad, though. Always looks like she's been crying." Marcus's heart exploded with joy and fear. Where's the chapel?" The old woman pointed down a narrow dirt road, just past the bakery. "You can't miss it. Old stone building with a cross on top. St. Mary's Chapel, we call it." Marcus grabbed her hand. Thank you so much." He rolled his wheelchair as fast as he could down that dirt road, his arms burning, his breath coming in gasps. Past the bakery, around the corner, and there, a small stone chapel, old and beautiful, with flowers growing wild around it. Marcus stopped outside, suddenly terrified. What would he say? What if she was angry? What if she sent him away? But he'd come this far. He couldn't turn back now. He rolled up to the wooden door and pushed it open. The chapel was dim and cool, lit by candles flickering on the altar. The pews were empty except for one person sitting in the very back, head bowed in prayer, a young woman in a blue dress. "Elena!" Marcus breathed. She turned around, and her eyes went wide with shock. "Marcus? How did you—" But she didn't finish because Marcus was rolling toward her as fast as he could. And when he reached her pew, he grabbed her hands and held them tight like he'd never let go. "You left a clue," he said, tears streaming down his face. "In the letter, St. Mary's Chapel. You wanted me to find you. You did." Elena was crying too, shaking her head. "I didn't mean to write it. I erased it. I thought—" "I don't care what you thought," Marcus interrupted. "I'm here. I found you, and I'm not leaving without you." "Marcus, nothing's changed," Elena said desperately. "People will still talk. They'll still judge. They'll still—" "Let them," Marcus said firmly. "Let them talk until their voices run out. Let them judge until they're tired of judging. I don't care, Elena. I've spent 3 years hiding in that mansion, afraid of what people think, afraid of being hurt. And then you came and you taught me something. You taught me that love is braver than fear. So I'm choosing to be brave. I'm choosing you." Elena sobbed, covering her face with her hands. "But I have nothing to give you. No money. No status. No." "You give me everything," Marcus said, pulling her hands away from her face. So she had to look at him. "You give me joy. You give me hope. You give me a reason to wake up in the morning. You give me love. Real love. The kind that sees all my broken pieces and says, 'I'll stay anyway.' That's everything, Elena. That's more than all the money in the world." Elena looked into his eyes, and Marcus could see her walls crumbling, her fear melting away. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you so much it hurts." "Then come home with me," Marcus said, "not to be my maid, to be my everything, my partner, my best friend, the person I choose every single day for the rest of my life." Elena laughed through her tears. "Are you asking me to marry you, Marcus?" Marcus grinned, a real, full, beautiful grin. Yes, I am, right here in this chapel, right now. I don't have a ring. I don't have fancy words prepared. But I have a heart that's yours, Elena. It's always been yours. Say yes. please say yes. Elena threw her arms around his neck and kissed him. It was a kiss that tasted like tears and hope and new beginnings. A kiss that said all the words they couldn't speak. A kiss that promised forever. When they finally pulled apart, Elena was smiling so wide her face hurt. Yes, she said. Yes, yes, yes. They didn't go back to the mansion. Instead, Marcus sold it. All 42 rooms. All the gold and crystal and marble. He kept only the things that mattered. His favorite books, the paintings Elena loved, the bird feeder from the garden window. With the money, they bought a tiny cottage by the sea. The cottage Marcus had always dreamed about when he dreamed of freedom. It had 2 rooms, a porch that faced the ocean, and a garden where Elena planted flowers. The wheelchair fit perfectly through all the doors. They could hear the waves at night and watch the sunrise every morning. They got married in the little chapel where Marcus had found her again. The old flower woman came, and Mr. Peters, and a few villagers who'd grown to love them. No fancy clothes. No big party. Just 2 people promising to love each other forever. Elena wore her blue dress. Marcus wore his long-sleeved black t-shirt. And they were happier than any king or queen in any palace. The years that followed were simple and beautiful. Marcus taught Elena to read the difficult books he loved. Elena taught Marcus to garden and cook and laugh at silly things. They walked. Well, Marcus rowed and Elena walked by the ocean every evening, watching the birds and collecting shells. When people in the village asked about them, Elena would smile and say, "He's my husband. I'm his wife. We saved each other." And no one judged, no one whispered, because real love, the kind that shines through actions and sacrifice and choosing someone every day, that kind of love is impossible not to recognize. Marcus's health grew weaker as years passed. His body was tired from fighting for so long. But his heart, his heart had never been stronger. One spring morning, when the flowers Elena had planted were blooming and the birds were singing their loudest songs, Marcus woke up in their little bed and knew today was the day. "Elena," he whispered. She was immediately awake, holding his hand. She always knew. She always understood. "I'm here," she said softly. "I'm right here." "I'm not afraid," Marcus told her, his voice weak but steady. "I'm not afraid because I got to love you, because you love me back, because you show me that life isn't about how much you have or how perfect your body is. It's about who sees you, who stays." Tears rolled down Elena's cheeks, but she was smiling. "You made me believe I was worth loving," she said. "You gave me a home, not just a house, a real home, right here." She placed his hand over her heart. Marcus smiled. The sun was rising, painting their little room gold. "Promise me something," he whispered. "Anything. Keep planting flowers. Keep watching the birds. Keep believing that broken people can find beautiful endings. Promise." "I promise," Elena said, kissing his forehead just like she had that night she tried to leave. But this time it wasn't goodbye. It was thank you. It was I'll carry you with me forever. Marcus closed his eyes, still smiling, his hand in hers. And he went peacefully, surrounded by love, in the home they'd built together. Epilogue. Elena lived in the cottage for many more years. She kept her promise. She planted flowers every spring. She watched the birds every morning. She told their story to anyone who would listen. The story of a millionaire in a wheelchair who thought he was broken, and a maid in a blue dress who knew better. "Love doesn't care about wheelchairs or bank accounts," she would say. "Love cares about hearts. And if you find someone who sees your heart, really sees it, you hold on tight. You fight for them. You choose them every single day." On the day Elena finally closed her own eyes for the last time, she was 93 years old, surrounded by flowers, with the ocean singing outside her window. Her last words were a whisper. "I'm coming home, Marcus. Wait for me." And in that little cottage by the sea, you could almost feel it. 2 hearts, finally together again, free and whole and eternal. Because real love doesn't end when bodies fail. Real love is forever. Real love is grace.